I don't know who you are. I don't know what you want. If you're looking for ransom, I can tell you, I don't have money. But what I do have is a very particular set of skills. Skills that I've acquired over a very long career. Skills that make me a nightmare for people like you. If you let my pig go now, that'll be the end of it. I will not look for you. I will not pursue you. But if you don't, I will look for you. I will find you. And I will cook you the best meal that you've ever had. You've been warned. Okay. Welcome to the Film Spot Cine Club, Monday night, and if you couldn't guess, we're talking about the movie Pig. I watched it, what day is it, Monday? I watched it 3 nights ago. I really liked it, so I hope you managed to watch it as well. Before we get started, this was also really funny. Barack Obama had his list of his favorite movies of 2021, and Pig made the cut. All right. Drive My Car, Summer of Soul, West Side Story, Power the Dog, Pig, Passing, Card Counter, which I've heard was very good as well. I have not seen it. Judas and the Black Messiah, Worst Person in the World, Old Henry, Last Duel, Macbeth, Come On, Come On, and Quo Vadis Ada. I don't know what that is, but the question is, does Barack Obama have good movie taste? Or does whoever manages his Twitter have good movie taste? That's the real question. But Pig made the cut, which I'm very happy about. I mean, it was in my, I don't know what it ranks among my year, but it's pretty high up there. It was such a great film. Not what I expected, but I think that is part of the charm, as we will discuss. So let me just pull up my notes about the movie Pig. Yeah, I don't know where to start. I think that I'll start with saying that it's very much an anti-John Wick film. I've seen so many people draw parallels between this movie and John Wick, which are very understandable, right? But instead of killing the man at the end, he kills him with compassion, which is a very nice way of putting it. So about this movie, the director Michael Sarnowski, he is a first-time director, and I looked up on his IMDb, and his last credit was in 2015, and they're mostly small projects, shorts, and documentaries, where he was mostly the editor. So yeah, who knows what he's been doing for the past 5 years, but hey, this is his first time directing a feature film, and he got Nicolas Cage. That's pretty insane. Good for him. Gives all those filmmakers a lot of hope out there. But I saw that in an interview. I watched a YouTube interview with him, with Mama's Geeky was the channel. Just thought I'd credit it. But he said that he was trying to get this movie made, and the actors, they just love the script. And they thought that along the way, when they were trying to figure out how this movie was going to get made, they just thought that he should direct the movie because he knows the material the best. He really cares about it. They said that Nicolas Cage, he read the script, he really resonated with it, as well as Alex Wolff, who's also in it. And yeah, that's how it got made. That's crazy. That's awesome. You just love to hear that. Also, the pig that they got, it's a farm pig. And they said the main motivation for the pig was just putting carrots down and having the pig walk places. And they just shot a lot of footage and just tried to capture like the cute moments of the pig being an animal, which is crazy because I guess a lot of times you get acting trained animals for these sorts of things, but I guess pigs aren't used terribly often as kind of a character rather than just a farm animal. And then also the best part of the interview was that the story came to be because his family, I guess it's not the best part, but a very interesting part is that his family had a loss as well as many of the characters in this film. He lost his father, the director, and it was kind of based around how everyone dealt with the grief of the death of the father. And I think that shines very, very well with this film. And it was just, it was Interesting to hear that. One last thing that he said in the interview was that after his father passed away, that his grandma, I think it was his grandma, she moved in and to take care of a lot of the children in the house, and she made a lot of Italian food, and that food is kind of a memory that he had at that point of his life that was very important to him. Like, he just remembers after this big loss and everybody dealing with it that there was always that food. She was always cooking these big meals, which was also interesting because of how prominent food is in this film as well. Yeah, so Nicolas Cage movie. Nicolas Cage really is having a resurgence here. Hey, Owen, how's it going? Hope it's going well. Have you seen Pig? I hope you've seen Pig. If you're here, because I'm going to talk all about it. I really like Pig. I watched it a couple days ago, but yeah, glad you can make it. But yeah, we're really seeing a Nicolas Cage resurgence. I don't know if any of you saw Color Out of Space. That was in the last couple years, which I really like. I'm very much into those crazy sci-fi concepts, as well as I never got around to seeing Mandy, but I really wanted to see Mandy as well. You have seen Pig? All right, good. I expect to hear your opinions on it. Yeah. So, a month ago, all right, you were very much ahead of the curve. I think it was in theaters for a bit. I never managed to catch it in theaters, but I did watch it on Crave a couple days ago. I watched it on his birthday, actually. I didn't know it was Nicolas Cage's birthday on Friday, but that is when I watched Pig. So, happy birthday, Mr. Nicolas Cage. And I also found out that his wife is pregnant, and his wife is 26 years old, 32 years younger than him. Interesting. But you know, I'm happy for the Cages. All right. Okay, so let's start by talking about the characters in this movie. And like I said last week with Raising Arizona, H.I. McDonough is an iconic Nicolas Cage character. I think this as well is another iconic Nicolas Cage character. Robin Feld. I mean, yeah, in the movie, the name, it carries a lot of power. And it's very John Wick-esque near the beginning. He writes his name on that board in that weird underground chef fighting ring. And yeah, I think his stoic nature is really what makes his character shine. That was my favorite part. And also, when I talk to multiple people about this movie, their first reaction is like, Nicolas Cage, just shower. Just shower. One person said to me, I've never wanted Nicolas Cage to shower more in his life. Like... It's a funny thing that everyone talks about, being like, oh, Nicolas Cage doesn't shower in this movie. He's just so dirty the whole time. But it's also very meaningful within this story and the tale of loss and grief that he's trying to tell, which is awesome. Oh, if you can make this quirk something that is actually very much related to the core themes of the film, it just works so well. Yeah, it just works so well because he's so dirty the whole film, and you see him in these like prestigious places. You see him in that one restaurant. Everything's so white. His face is just messed up the whole time. Yeah, and it's like the way I thought of it was like this dirt, this forest was kind of his way to escape his grief. That's how he dealt with it, and he just carries around it everywhere. Yeah, he needs medical attention. It's true. He really did need medical attention. And I think the most unrealistic thing about this whole film is that partway through the film, he gets like a small bandage on his nose. But Robin Feld wouldn't put a bandage on his nose. No way. He would keep that gash open and carry it around with him the whole time. So, you know, one misstep, but, you know, I won't dock marks for that. But, yeah, like I said before, this performance is so great because he can convey so much with saying so little, and those are always great performances when somebody can do that. And it relates again to John Wick, because John Wick, his name holds so much prestige, right? And as does Robin's. And in John Wick, my favorite scene is there's a phone call. The main Russian bad guy, he gets a phone call, and he has like a henchman beside him, and he's like, John, what do you want? Blah, blah, blah. What are you doing? And John doesn't say anything the whole time. He hangs up. And then his mob friend, he's like, what'd he say? And he's just like, enough. But he didn't say anything the whole phone call. Oh, that's my favorite scene in John Wick the whole time. But it feels like this movie has a lot related to that, especially in that one restaurant scene with that chef. That was my favorite scene of the whole movie. It seems like the chef just kept on rambling The chef just kept on trying to justify his existence, and Nicolas Cage, all he had to do was sit still. And he unnerved these deep feelings he didn't know he was thinking about. Okay, so, okay, I want to talk about John Wick a little more because the parallels are so funny. The trailer makes you think that it could go down the John Wick a little. I think that the fact he's bruised the whole time, he's bruised, he's bloodied, and he's dirty the whole time, you're like, oh, he must get into so much action in this movie. But no, there's like 2 intense scenes when the pig gets robbed and then when he gets beat up. Hello, Graham, welcome. Glad you could make it. Yeah, so the plot of this one compared to John Wick. So they both have an animal death after living with it, wanting to replace a dead wife. The people hear his name and they want to help him. There's that one woman where they go and see this woman and she's like, oh, he tells her that they took his pig and she's like, oh, they took Robin Feld's pig. Oh, we got to do something about it. Then he gets reinitiated into his former life for Nicolas Cage as a chef. He goes back into that world, and John Wick as a hitman. He gets all the tools he needs to take on the bad guy. For John Wick, it's all his weaponry, but Nicolas Cage arms himself with a stove and all of his cooking materials. He suits up in a sense. He gets defeated, he defeats bad guy's henchmen. So you have John Wick killing all the henchmen, killing that the mob boss's son. But in this one, he defeats the chef in the restaurant, which is pretty much just the main bad guy's henchman. And then he defeats the bad guy who rose atop this corrupt industry. In John Wick, it's whatever crime-related industry. And this one, it is the culinary industry. And he rises up and he defeats him. But in very different ways. But you got to wonder if they thought of John Wick when they're making this. I feel like they have to have. But yeah, I think it's very interesting the way that these two films relate. Yeah, so Nicolas Cage, I think another iconic performance, iconic character because, yeah, the name that it holds. And it's iconic because of his stoicness. It's a movie about grief, and that's what this character does this whole movie. Okay, so moving on to Amir, which is Alex Wolff character. He was very good as well. Alex Wolff, he's like a very good reactor. Reaction shots are so important in movies, and whenever you pan to him, when he's talking to Nicolas Cage or listening to Nicolas Cage talk, the way he listens to him, just with his like dropped face, just like amazement some of the time. Sometimes it's like, what are you doing, old man? But yeah, he's just a great reactor, in my opinion. I really like him. But the thing about his character, I think that was the most interesting, was that he listens to classical music in his car, like a podcast or like a pre-recorded instruction video. And at the first time I heard that, it made me laugh. I was like, okay, there's no way that this kid is that obnoxious that he's listening to this classical music in like his super nice flashy sports car. But it makes so much sense for the story. Like, he wants to be in the prestigious world that his dad has made it in, and his dad has kind of like shunned him. And classical music, it's considered like high class, right? He wants to be... His whole character is he just wants to build up his self-image, which is, yeah, it's pretty evident. But my favorite part is near the end, the classical music tape. It says, can you recognize the melody, the harmony, and the rhythm? And the way the guy says it, it's almost like it's a recipe, right? He's like, there's this recipe to make really good classical music, and can you identify it? If you can identify it, then you must be a classical music aficionado. But yeah, and this movie proves that that's not the way things work. A lot of the message of the movie is that there's no recipe for success, or at least the recipe that people follow to success won't lead them to true fulfillment, as do the father figure for Alex Wolff. He doesn't actually feel fulfilled with his accomplishments. But yeah, I thought that parallel was really interesting, the high-class nature of the classical music. And after the first time I heard it, and then as the movie went along, I understood the classical music element more. I think a lot of the elements in this movie are very on the nose, but it still works. It still works. I think because there is a tinge of quirky, like, silliness to the movie that okay, this guy, maybe he listens to classical music because his whole character is he's trying to build up his self-image and everything. But yeah, it's those lines that are like very clever. They're very evident, but they're just like, oh, they're very satisfying. I really like that line. Yeah. And also, yeah, the classical music, when they go to the dad's house for the climax of the movie, there's classical music playing in the house as well, which is just, yeah, nice touch. It's just the whole movie, I'm like, oh, that's a nice touch with so many of the things. Yeah, very well made, very well made. Let's see. So he spends all of his money on his sports cars, his clothes. He clearly wants people to think of him as like a high-class individual. But I think Robin, Nicolas Cage's character, kind of saved him in a sense because he probably would have just gone down the same rabbit hole that his dad did. And he probably would have just ended up like him because, I mean, yeah, that's what he does at the beginning of the movie. He's just trying to almost abuse Nicolas Cage's character for his truffles. The drug of the culinary world, apparently. What is a truffle? I don't know. But yeah, he's pretty much just trying to abuse people for the truffles. He makes deals on the side to try to like get into that restaurant. He's very like the sleazy young up and coming mobster who like overtakes everything at the end. So I feel like that was his destiny, but Nicolas Cage's character kind of like changed that, which is cool. I like that. Yeah, Nicolas Cage is kind of the parent that Alex Wolff's character never had, right? It works well because like when they go on this adventure, they have so many good heart-to-hearts, right? And because they're together this whole time, it's revealed why each of them do what they do. It's like, I don't know if it's like a saying or just something I've heard it before, but like if you understand people's motivations and why they act like they act, why they do what they do, it's really hard to not sympathize with them. And because they spent so much time together, they found this common ground with the grief that they're having with Nicolas Cage and his wife and then Alex Wolff and his mother, that, yeah, they managed to sympathize with each other in the end. And that was kind of what the whole movie is about. Yeah, it's just connecting with other people in these times of grief. It keeps you afloat. Because I think that if Nicolas Cage's character didn't have that pig, he probably would have like, I don't know, maybe he would have died or something. Like that pig was the one thing that was kind of keeping him holding on. It was representing his dead wife. He's like, something to have company to. And it's like, he needed something to keep him sane while he was grieving. And that was the pig, right? But then when the pig's lost, found a mirror, which is nice. But yeah, their interactions together were great, just because like, yeah, the contrast of Nicolas Cage being so dirty, Alex Wolff, all these nice clothes in this fancy car. Again, script is very on the nose, but that's why it works. It's a short movie. It's concise. You know, I like short movies. And it gets to the point, and it does it very, very well. Okay. We'll move on to talking about the dad character, Alex Wolff's dad. His name was Darius. I didn't even know that. I looked it up. Played by Adam Arkin. He was very good as well. He's the mob boss of the restaurant industry. And I was thinking, like, what was his motivation for stealing the pig? At first, I was like, okay, he wants the truffles, but then it's revealed later that he doesn't actually need the pig for the truffles. He just kept the pig around for company. So it seems like he was just trying to take the pig to spite his own son, which is like, it was nothing against Nicolas Cage. It's like one of those mob boss businessman thing where it's like, oh, it's nothing personal, right? And to him, okay, maybe you're not thinking of it as personal, but he was really just trying to spite his own son, which is pretty messed up. Yeah, he sees his son as like a competitor, right? Yeah, the father didn't know the pig didn't do anything. Yeah, he didn't know that, which is like, it could have been that he wanted the truffles very bad. They both make sense. Maybe it's like he knew both of these things and he was trying to kill two birds with one stone, right? He gets all these awesome truffles from this really good pig, but also is very much, if he takes away this pig from Nicolas Cage, then his son, his competitor, has his main supply is kind of like diminished, which is just like, that's horrible. Yeah, this character kind of sucks. He's the typical, businessman archetype, ruthless businessman. And I think the ending scene is great. And it worked. I think the most revealing line in the ending scene was when he was like, the pig died just because of handling, how they handled it. They were just rough with it, and that's how it died. It wasn't anything grand. It was just, they mishandled it. And that's just so representative of, I don't know if it's a critique of the restaurant industry. I guess I don't know too much about that, but I guess a lot of modern industries, it can be just like you're abusing, whether it be other people, your goods, the environment. That in this case, they're just abusing their product, and they didn't care for it enough, and it ended up dying, which is like, Nicolas Cage, he was a chef as well, and he was widely beloved. Everybody knew his name, and everybody loved his food, especially the dad character. And it seemed like the movie was trying to tell you that he did things very ethically. He's just a very good person. He did it for the right reasons. So he would be the kind of person that would like care for the animals, because like, of course, he's probably selling meat and everything and killing these animals, but he would be the kind of person that like cared for these animals that he used for the food. And that's just another like just contrast between those two, that the dad, he didn't care for the product. All he's trying to do is put up this high class or deemed high class product for these people and satisfy their wallets, right? And it's like, this shows that the moral and the loving way was fulfilling Nicolas Cage. Because Nicolas Cage, he of course, he liked his job. It seemed like he was very passionate for it. And his wife leaving him, that just made him go into hiding. It's like the moral and the loving way is the right way to go. You'll find your way eventually. It's kind of like a message that's been told a lot. It's like, if you love what you're doing, you'll find success eventually. But the pig, it was like a meaningless casualty in the crossfire. I guess another parallel to the mob movies, because like the pig didn't do anything wrong. It was just, it was caught in the crossfire, which was, very sad. Let's see. Anything else about this character? Was the underground fighting ring actually just a dish pit? I don't know. That would be, the underground fighting ring. I'll get to that in a bit, but a dish pit. That's pretty funny if it was. That was another one of the things where it's like, okay, you're taking the movie less seriously, but it works because of, you're thinking of John Wick at the beginning of the movie. Oh, big action sequence. His pig gets stolen. Then he goes to this fighting thing. But then, guys, I got a follower notification. Thank you for following. I don't think I didn't tell anybody I put that there. Okay. Hello, welcome. Glad you can make it. Okay, so, one last thing about the father character in Pig. It seems like he's the kind of guy, he's looking for fulfillment with this business. He's looking for financial fulfillment. And the loss of the mother may be a reason why he like shuns his son, why he doesn't love his son. Because it doesn't say it explicitly, but it seems like the son is kind of like a reminder of the mother, and he just doesn't want to deal with his emotion, which we can see at the end when he eats that meal. He eats the meal, he's reminded of her. He's not only just shown the power of like when a meal is prepared as lovingly as Nicolas Cage can prepare a meal. Of course he can. The power that it serves, but it helps him grieve because, I'll talk about that last scene in a bit, but it just helps everybody connect with their grieving and kind of like expose themselves, showing themselves what burdens they carry. Okay. Other characters we have, I'll get to the chef in a minute, but I guess that pig is kind of a character too, right? It's the titular role. They cast, I looked into this, they cast this pig, the real pig's name's Brandy, and she is a Kune Kune pig. I don't know if I'm saying that right, but kind of like a New Zealand breed, it said. Which, the pig did great. I mean, the pig, honestly, yeah, it's only really at the beginning of the movie, but it's a pretty important character. It seemingly represents his dead wife, and yeah, the performance, top notch, very cute. Makes everybody want to get a pet pig at the end of this. Can you get a pet pig? I would be interested, honestly. The tail wasn't very curly, you know. I was looking at the tail and I was like, well, shouldn't pigs have curly tails? What is this? I felt a bit scammed. Okay, yeah, I guess that's a character. But, okay, chef. I think the chef, played by David Nell, his name was, that's the best scene in the movie. The scene in the restaurant with the chef, that scene was perfect. I love that scene so much. All three of the characters in that scene did their job so perfectly. So, like, you have Nicolas Cage. He's the stoic one. He's holding all the power in the conversation without saying anything. You have the chef, he's the pompous chef, he's beaten down without Nicolas Cage like saying anything. He's the one who thinks what he's built is so good. He's putting up this like charade of his happiness. I guess kind of like the father was doing. It's like he has all this fame and fortune, but what good does it give him because he doesn't actually love what he's doing. And then you have Alex Wolff, who just like looks on in awe the whole time. I love whenever they cut to Alex Wolff. His face is just he's listening the whole time, but he does it so well. He's listening to this man's life just get ruined by Nicolas Cage. It was so good. But yeah, so many good lines in that scene. So you have, he wanted to open up a pub, but it's not profitable, he was saying. Yeah, what was he saying? He was saying, I forget the exact line. Another good line I wrote down here was, he was talking about the concept, and he was like, we're making the known foreign. You know, keeping it fresh. It's cutting edge. Nicolas Cage was like asking him like, so do you like what you're making? And he's like, yeah. Didn't like Alex Wolff at first, but he got better and better. Yeah, I think I agree. Because at the beginning he was like, okay, he's just stuck up guy. It's like, no way he listens to classical music. That's just like such a, you're just adding on so many elements to this character to try to make it so obvious. But I think that's what the movie does well. It starts off as like, okay, we know where this is going. This is a revenge film. He's going to go get his pig back no matter what the cost. Alex Wolff is this stuck-up businessman in the restaurant industry. But then not only does Nicolas Cage reveal what the movie's really about, but so does Alex Wolff when he reveals what's happening with his family and why he does what he does, right? And yeah, it gets more subtle. His performance gets more subtle as it goes along. And yeah, the reaction shots kill me every single time in that scene, especially. The whole restaurant is like so clean. And that's another thing where it's like the dirtiness of Nicolas Cage works so well because he's just this one like ray of dirtiness in this restaurant that's just like so prestigious. Like literally every character in that restaurant is wearing white. They just ask all the extras just like, hey, bring your whitest shirt you can. Your cleanest whitest shirt you can and come to this film shirt. And then you have Nicolas Cage whose face is just beat up the whole time. But yeah, it's like I want to go back to him talking about what the restaurant is about, because he says that everyone likes it, right? He says, oh, everyone loves the restaurant. And then Nicolas Cage constantly berates him and he's like, you're not real. I love that. You're not real. This isn't real. It works so well. And it made me think of like kind of when I'm in a film class and the teacher asks a student and they're like, so what is this movie about? What's the thesis? And I feel like I've felt this feeling before. I can't pinpoint an exact spot, but they're like, what's the thesis? And you're like, oh, you know, I'm just trying to showcase the grief of these characters, kinda. You know, he grieves a lot, and it's just you trying to ramble about trying to put it together. And yeah, that's what this chef's doing. He doesn't know what he's doing. What's the thesis behind your restaurant? I don't know. He gives you just like a word soup example of what he thinks it is, but really to him it means nothing. And it's, again, yeah, people just trying to appease what they think people will like. I feel like, yeah, that's what a lot of the film's about. And every scene does that pretty well. I think that the chef's performance was very over the top in a good way. I think that, like I said before, the movie is quirkier than it seems on the surface. Like, if you enter the movie starting at that very scene, you'd be like, okay, this chef guy is really, he's hamming it up. He's doing like these crazy, crazy performance that he's putting on. But it works because the contrast between him and Nicolas Cage says nothing, or almost next to nothing. The most powerful moments in the whole scene is when Nicolas Cage isn't saying anything, and then you have this guy who's just rambling on, trying to make sense of what he's saying. And yeah, it's clear from the earlier scenes that the movie isn't taking itself too seriously. It's trying to exaggerate things a little. And yeah, I think with that context from the previous, it builds up to this point in the movie very well, is what I'm trying to say. And then, yeah, in the scene we have the trailer line. I think it's on the poster too. We don't get a lot of things to really care about. And yeah, I mean, that's pretty much the thesis of the movie. It's a great line. Very quotable. Will be quoted for the ages. Yeah, comes in that scene. Oh, this scene is just, it's so good. It's so good. I'm trying to remember exactly what happens. It's like, he knew him. He knew the chef. He used to be an employee, and he wanted to make a pub, and he remembered that. Oh yeah, the big thing was like, he remembered every guest that he serves. He says that at the end of the movie as well. And I guess also along with that, he remembers every employee he ever had. But yeah, he wanted to open a pub, which is like, yeah, again, the perfect on the nose example. Pub, like such a big opposite of this pompous, posh restaurant, because pubs are like a place about community. They're about good times. That's what they represent. And then no, he went for this upscale, prestigious restaurant instead, which, yeah, it's just great script in general. Yeah, and the chef kind of embodies this like tortured businessman, the guy who's like, oh, when I was young I had all these hopes and dreams and everything, but then in the end he sold himself out for a truffle, for a plate of truffle. How sad. It's like he feels like he's in too deep, and that it's too late to turn back. Oh, he's amounted to this much success. That's good, right? On the surface, everyone thinks, oh, that amount of success is so good. But no, it's like a drug that makes him feel good in this moment. But then he's like, oh, it's pretty empty. Dang. Yeah, okay. So those are all kind of the major characters. I'm trying to think if there's any other character that was really terribly important. Yeah, that's not many characters. I guess I only really talked about 4 characters, which I love when movies are so concise. Every character, such a clear purpose, and yeah. So when I finish watching this movie, it's like, what's the point? And I think after talking about it, after seeing some interviews, reading about it, it's like, it's all just about grief, especially with what the director was saying in that interview that I watched. He was like, it's a movie about a portrait of grief, about how people are dealing with it, right? So Nicolas Cage, you have his wife dying, and to an extent losing his pig, which is kind of like the catalyst for everything, right? And in doing that, what does he do? He isolates himself. Then you have Alex Wolff's character. It's like his mother is currently dying. So what does he do? He puts up a physical and mental wall. He won't go in and see her. And all he does is he focuses inward. He tries to build up his self-image. He tries to forget her. Then you have the father, whose wife is dying, and he tries to keep her alive and just focus on his work. He turns on his son, which is a reminder of the wife, and that's how he's dealing with it. He's trying to use the success that he built up for himself to kind of comfort him. Just, I guess, like the chef was doing, but to a different scale. But yeah, it's about people. grieving in their own different ways and not knowing what to do. And in the end, I feel like it just culminates in everybody talking it out. It's one of those climaxes where it's like, in the end, maybe not talk it out. In this case, maybe they eat. Okay, I'm not eat it out. They they eat. The climax is them eating. That's the perfect anti-John Wick movie. That's how he gets them to sympathize with each other. But yeah, it really seems like that's what the whole movie's about. Nicolas Cage, he goes into the woods, and like I said before, it wasn't good for him. Going into the woods and shutting himself off probably wasn't good for him. Yeah, you also had that recorded tape that he couldn't bear to listen to. His old job, he was thriving off of people. As a chef, he loved serving the people. That was his whole thing. He remembered every customer that he'd ever served. He had a love for the craft, as they say, and he was fulfilled with that and those connections. But when he took all those connections away and just tried to be by himself, it was tearing him down. And you could see that in the movie. He's literally getting beaten up by people. And the only thing that kept him afloat, in my opinion, was the pig. Yeah, if he didn't have the pig, I feel like he would have been donezo. It's at the end of the movie, it's revealed that like everyone has lost something, right? Everyone is hurting, right? And then they're able to connect at the end and learn about why each other was grieving. Learn about everybody's past. It's kind of what I said at the very beginning. I said that if you know why people are doing things, you know people's motivations, then it's very difficult not to sympathize with people, right? Unless they're just completely crazy. But that's pretty much what this movie does the whole time, right? So yeah, I think that let me see. Anything else I want to talk about this movie? I think also the movie shows that the world doesn't care about grief. It's like another like harsh reality movie. It's like the world is unfair, and that grief is everywhere. It's normal, and a lot of people don't care. It's like he was saying to the chef in the restaurant. He was saying that these people don't care about you. These people don't care that you lost your pub. You never got to have that fulfillment with that. And when you put when you put it that way, it's like the culinary industry kind of mirrors just like a lot of other industries, and it's like they are unforgiving, and a lot of people feel like they have to do the unethical way of rising to the top, climbing the ranks. And I don't know, I was just saying that's not good. Yeah, along the lines of grief, the reason people are grieving is because they made these connections previously to these people. They built up this love with other people, or maybe with the chef, the love of the idea of opening up this pub. And they built up this love over so much time. They put so much love into it. And in the end, they feel like it's unfair. I feel like that's what a lot of people feel. It's like they feel like it's unfair that that's the reason that they're hurting. Why was this taken away from me, right? And yeah, it's showing that sometimes horrible things happen. And yeah, the pig. Sometimes things just get caught in the crossfire. The pig represents everything. I think that it's a movie with a very classical lesson that everyone has heard a million times, but it's just reshaping it, which is, I mean, that's what a lot of media does, but it's a movie about being open with your feelings, and when they're finally able to connect with other people, even if their previous bonds are broken, you know, they're broken themselves, the sharing, it's beneficial to you. It allows you to understand people. It's a classical thing, like, get it off your chest and it'll feel better, and it always does, right? Yeah, it's a movie about... oh, yeah, one more line that I really liked I had written down here. If I never came looking for her, she'd be alive in my head. Talking about the pig. if he never came looking for the pig, that the pig would still be alive in his head. And I think that's another really, one of those hidden gem lines, like we don't get a lot of things to care about. That could be on the poster as well. I guess that kind of would be or spoiling everything if you put that on the poster. But yeah, throughout the movie, Nicolas Cage, he's kind of seen as like this perfect. He was so ethical with his restaurant business. He was such a good guy, but we have to notice that he really had a lot to learn. Still, he wasn't perfect. He wasn't accepting the world as it is. Right? He's pretending he's pretending that that this grief defines him. I don't know what I'm just trying to say, but it's like he's just prolonging his grief by going in that woods, getting that pig, right? And he really just needs to let it out. Okay, so I think there's two more scenes that I want to talk about. I want to talk about the one conversation Alex Wolff had with Nicolas Cage when he's in, I think it was Alex Wolff's place. It was just like this really nice apartment. He was talking about the earthquake and tsunami story. I forgot what city they were exactly in. They were in a certain city in America. But at first I heard the story and I was like, oh, what is this a metaphor for? Because I think, again, at that point in the movie, you're like, oh, this isn't maybe some action movie. It's a revenge movie. And you hear this story and you're like, how does this connect to anything? But I rewatched that scene and it's like, it makes so much sense. It's like he talks about how there's going to be an earthquake. He even says in it, it's going to like break all the bridges. All the bridges are going to fall. There'll be nowhere to go. And anybody who survives the earthquake, they'll look up and 5 minutes later, a tsunami hits. And yeah, at this point in the movie, you don't understand that everybody is grieving something, and it's really just a representation of that grief. The earthquake being the whatever caused that grief. The earthquake is, his wife dying, is the mother dying for Alex Wolff, and all the bridges, they're broken, they're gone, they're beyond repair, which is like, yeah, you can't get them back. And then you manage to survive it, you look up, and it's tsunami. And I think the fact that it's a tsunami makes it work so well because people always say, like, it comes in waves. The waves of grief, right? And, that scene worked so much better when I went back and looked at it. The last thing I also wanted to... the last scene was the ending scene. And I think that I was questioning, like, why did they make the meal? Right? What was the purpose? And it made me think that at the end, he still wants his pig back. He's still trying to get his pig back. And he thinks that the meal will, like, spark these memories of the mother. And it'll get him to sympathize with him, which it does. Yeah. And that was kind of the whole point. And it feels, it's weird because it feels like a mean thing. It feels like he's beating him down with the meal, which is a weird thing to say. It's like he eats the meal and he's like, force feeding him all these negative emotions. It's like, oh, the memory of his mother come flooding back and everything. But in the end, that was beneficial for the dad, I would hope, because I mean the dad is kind of the worst character, worst as in most evil character, and hopefully that made him better. But yeah, the dad he like lost touch with the industry that he works in. Assumingly, he eats the same pompous crap that he makes at these restaurants every day, and this one memorable meal shows him that like when something is crafted like lovingly, that only Nicolas Cage can prepare a meal this well. It shows him how powerful that can be, and that he realizes Nicolas Cage's pain in the end, and everyone's broken. I think that's a lot of the things with this movie. It's just a great scene. Again, Nicolas Cage, he like stands there while the guy's yelling at him after he eats the meal. He's like telling him to get out. And again, another reason why Nicolas Cage's performance is so good. Quality performance while he says the least. I wonder how many lines he has in this movie compared to like Alex Wolff. Who has the most lines in this movie? I would bet that it might be Alex Wolff. I mean, I guess Nicolas Cage is in more scenes and everything, but Alex Wolff is more the talker, you know? One thing I had written down here, I said it connects to, I talked a lot about John Wick, and it connects to revenge flicks. And I think the word I want to use is like, it's like an anti-escapism movie, right? The trailer makes you think, oh, you're going to go into this adventure with Nicolas Cage and see him beat up people to get back his pig. Beginning of the movie makes you think like that. And I don't know how I feel about this as like a marketing tactic, because it might get more eyes on the movie, but are people who are going into this expecting something more actiony going to be let down by this? You would hope that they see it and they're like, whoa, that was different, but I really liked it. Which honestly, that's what I've heard most people say about it. But yeah, it's really good. Oh, yes, my subscription or my follow notification. Thank you for following. I hope that's not scaring everybody. But yeah, it's an anti-revenge flick about, instead of beating people up, it's about sympathizing with them, which is complete opposite. I wonder if they planned this out. Was it that self-conscious? It feels like it was self-conscious that they did that. But yeah. Trying to think. What else do I have to say about Pig? Anybody else have any thoughts? Any certain scenes that stood out to them? Anything that they want to say? Again, I do have a Discord if anybody wants to say anything aloud to people about this movie. But another scene that I'll talk about is one scene that I thought was kind of weird, actually. The scene with a kid in the backyard. He walks up to his old house and goes to the backyard, sits with this kid. And the whole time, I'm kind of like not invested in what they're saying, because I'm thinking, this kid's parent is going to come out and be like, what are you doing, old man? What, you're so beaten up. Sound design was really good. Yeah, the sound design was very good. I like the, yeah, it was very clean. They had a nice classical music score. Oh, if you want to join the Discord, there's a link in the actual Twitch, I forget exactly where, but on the Twitch page, there's a Discord link, yeah. If you want to come talk about it. Okay, so how did I feel about the Fight Club scene? I think that's another scene, just like the scene with the kid outside. It's like, in the moment, you're like, doesn't fit. But it's another one of those that made the tactic of getting people to think that it's one movie when it's really another movie. Oh, it didn't work? Here, try this. Let me put this. Let me see what I can do. Give me 1 second. It's expired. I guess I gotta learn how to... Uh-oh. Is my voice gonna duplicate here? Uh-oh. Okay, there. I put it right there. I put it in the chat if you want to come join it now. Should work now. Okay. Okay, so what were we talking about? Fight Club scene, right. Okay, I have my face open up on this monitor now. I want to get rid of it. Okay, so yeah, if you want to join the stream, you can go in the waiting room voice channel, and then I can drag you into this one. So Fight Club scene, I think that at first I didn't know what the point of it was. Like, what was he getting out of it? And I guess he was just like finding a way to go to his pig, finding an inn to like where the pig was going. And I think that plot point of like him going through the restaurant industry trying to find his pig, it's good in theory and it works pretty well, but I think that honestly was one of my least favorite scenes, not because in the moment I was like, oh, this is sick, and looking back I really do like the connections to John Wick and everything, but it had the least to do with the entire movie. Like, he's just getting beat up. It was one of those things it's so over exaggerated in my opinion, to the point of like, would these chefs really be doing this? Like, there's some elements where you're like, okay, yeah, everyone knowing his name and just like the prestige it holds is a little silly, but I think this was a little more over the top silly than the rest of the movie, in my opinion. But I still did like the scene because it was pretty iconic, him writing his name on the board and then everybody being like, whoa, Robin fell, and then him getting beat up. I mean, it's good television, good cinema. But yeah, I think it felt the most disconnected out of all of the scenes, in my opinion. It does get him beat up and bloody. It's kind of like, I guess in a sense, it's a representation of what his grief is doing to him. It's destroying him, right? But it was badass. It was awesome. And I think that it still works, in my opinion, not as cohesive as some of the other scenes. But yeah, that's what I thought about that scene. What did you guys think about that scene? Did you guys like that scene? Because, yeah, again, very iconic, very more what you would have expect when you watch the trailer. But, yeah. I'm trying to think. Any other good scenes that I want to talk about? The scene at the beginning is just, yeah, really fun, really quaint. Him hanging out with the pig. The pig is so cute. The pig did such a good job. It felt just like a dog. I didn't know pigs were that hairy. The pig was super hairy, but it was cute. I really liked it. But yeah, I guess overall, I think that I really liked Pig. I really liked Pig. You thought it was mad. The movie could have functioned without it. I agree. I think the movie, because at the end of that scene, I was like, what did they gain from this? I forget exactly like the piece of information that they got from that scene to propel the story forward. Maybe they got a name or something. Maybe they went from there and then they went to the chef, right? They went from there, then they went to the chef. But like, I feel like you didn't need that middleman, really. It was kind of just a plot point to get him beat up, which honestly, I guess the net positive was worth it because you get him being beaten up the whole movie, which was absolutely hilarious. But yeah, I agree. Could have worked without it, but I am still happy that it was in there. I also really like the title cards that they put in, like the food related title cards. Those are really nice. I like it when a movie's segmented like that. I like when films have clear sections. It kind of like gives you a breath to like take in what just happened. It's kind of just like, yeah, chapters in a book. I really like when films have a nice structure like that. It worked very well. But yeah, anything else that we want to say about Pig? I feel like I've spoken my piece. Said what I wanted to say about Pig. I gave it a 4 out of 5 stars on Letterboxd, but I feel like talking about it is more of like, if you want to watch it, it's better to hear somebody talk about it rather than giving it a rating. But yeah, really liked it. I wonder if Nicolas Cage has like a chance for an Oscar or anything. That'd be pretty cool. First time director getting like an Oscar nomination. I've heard there's like a bit of buzz around it, which would be very, very cool. But yeah, very much like Pig. Any last thoughts? If anybody wants to, again, come into this Discord, I am here. But overall, I think that that will do it on the movie Pig. But just like last week, I'm bringing back a segment from last week, and this segment is read one of my old essays. I found it. I believe this was like grade 3 to 5. I wrote a French paper on Les Cochons. So I don't know how well this will hold up. But yeah, I'm guessing like grade 3 me. I mean, I used to say Pig was my favorite animal. And honestly, I guess it might still be. I'm 22 years old. I don't know how many people have a favorite animal, but I used to say Pig was my favorite animal, so I'll stick with it. And I wrote this. So let me read it through with you. I'll translate. It's kind of just like a bunch of information thrown at people, but I guess that's what presentations were back then. So, les cochons, pigs. Les cochons roulent dans la boue pour se rafraîchir. Pigs roll in mud to refresh themselves. Okay, is that a thesis statement? I don't know. Ils ont un museau sur le visage. They have a snout on their face. And le museau leur aide pour les cochons à sentir la nourriture. Okay, it relates to a pig. even though maybe it was disproved, but I said that their snout helps them find food, helps them smell food. So maybe the pig wasn't so useless after all. Maybe Nicolas Cage is lying, that the pig was really the secret to the truffles. Les cochons ont des petits yeux et certains ont un cul bouclé. They have small eyes, and some of them have twirly tails. Bouclé, that's like twirly. This is just me looking at a picture of a pig, being like, what can I talk about pigs? Okay, les cochons peuvent se développer et être très grands. Pigs can develop and be very, very big. Les cochons vivent plus que 10,000 années avant maintenant. So they've been around for over 10,000 years. Whoa, that's crazy. I would have thought maybe a little longer, honestly. Dans la famille des cochons, les cochons mâles sont appelés les verras et les femelles sont appelées les truies. Et les bébés sont appelés les porcelets. So just the male pigs are called les verras, I guess boar in English. Femelles sont les truies. I don't know if is that translatable? Is that just pig? I don't know. Truie French to English. Sows. Okay, I guess they're called sows. All right. Learning something from my grade 3 self. Et les bébés sont appelés les porcelets. Piglets, I'm guessing. Il y a beaucoup de différents types de cochons. A lot of different types of pigs. Certains cochons ont la peau rose, mais il y a les bruns, blancs et noirs cochons aussi. Oh, I start by saying some pigs have pink skin, but there's also some brown, white, and black pigs. And certains cochons ont des taches. Some pigs have spots as well. I think I just Google image search picture of a pig. It's like, what can I deduce from these images? Il existe environ 73 différentes races de cochons. 73 different races of pigs. Sur la plupart des fermes, ils sont gardés à l'intérieur dans les places avec des planchures de ciment. Et certains sont en cage. Oh man. So they're mainly... Okay, I don't know if I believe this. They're mainly kept indoors with floors made of cement. I feel like every time you see a pig on a farm, it's like just out in the wild in the mud. I feel like this is just false information. I just clearly didn't know what I was talking about. I have a hard time believing that the majority of pigs hang out on cement floors. I mean, they're in cages. Yeah, that makes sense. Dans certaines fermes, les cochons ne sont pas dans les petites places. So they're not in small places. Mais se promenant dans les grands champs. They hang out in big fields. Okay, yeah, that's what I would think as well. Les clôtures solides sont nécessaires parce que les cochons sont forts et peuvent pousser une clôture au-dessous ou peuvent aller sous la clôture. Oh man. Fences are necessary because they're very strong and they could push down the fence or they could go under it. Oh boy. These pigs are strong. But clearly, pig wasn't that strong when fighting these bad guys that took Nicolas Cage's pig. But that was my presentation on pigs. Did we learn something today? Clearly not as cohesive as my paper last year. It's still plagiarism if you Google Translate it. I wonder. Let me throw this in a Google Translate and see what comes up here. French to English. Oh, this Google Translate is a little rough. Here, let me bring this up if I can. The pigs roll in the mud to cool off. They have a muzzle on their face. The muzzle helps the pig to smell the food. Pigs have small eyes and some pigs have curly tails. Pig can grow to be very large. I guess this works. In the pig family, male pigs are called boars, females are called sows, and babies are called piglets. There are many different types of pig. Some have pink skin, but they have brown, white, and black pigs too. Okay, yeah. You know what? I think my French in grade 3 seemed to be pretty solid, but let me see if this Google Translate to anything. So they have muzzle. The muzzle helps pig find and smell food. You know what? We'll use that sentence. See what comes up. Government scientists try to take the stink out of pig manure. What do pigs use their snout for? Pigs have poor eyesight. I did say they have small eyes. I didn't say anything about eyesight, really, but I did say they have small eyes, but a great sense of smell. The pig's nostrils are on its leathery snout, which is very sensitive to touch. Okay, I don't think this is plagiarism. I think this is au naturel. I mean, is any presentation pre-grade, like grade 7, not plagiarized? I feel like whenever you do your research in those previous years in middle school, you're just like, you're ripping whatever you can find off the internet to try to prove yourself. You're just taking whatever it says and saying, the internet said this, trust me. That's what I was doing. But, you know, maybe 7-year-old Josh, you know, had some academic integrity to him. It seems like it. I mean, if I do the whole thing, I doubt anything's going to come up. I feel like I probably took from a few sources. I didn't cite my sources. You know, I think that's the biggest fault here. I did not cite my sources. What just happened? Let me see here. Okay, I controlled Control-C, Control-V, the entire thing in French. And the first thing that comes up is the definition of barberoussa. I don't even know what that is. Les cochons peuvent-ils sentir mieux que les chiens? Oh, pigs can smell better than dogs. Oh, wow. So I guess pig is really the ideal pet compared to dogs here. My preferred way to cite? I mean, I'm an MLA man, personally. I find that was the easiest. Because, like, I wrote essays in university. They were all about film. And I just wanted the easiest way to cite. I didn't want to think too much. I just wanted to maybe put it in that citation generator. And then, you know, just see whatever pops out. Put it on there. MLA seemed to be the easiest to me. I feel like I had a pretty good method. I don't think I ever got docked for plagiarism, as I don't think I ever plagiarized. I tried to be good about it. But yeah, MLA. I think that's the way to go. I think there was one paper I wrote. It was like this very strict teacher in my art class. It was the history of art. It was just like this guy who just knew everything about classical art. And he made us do a Chicago style, I think. The one where you put the numbers in the text. And that's the first and only time I did it. And I gotta say, it was quite annoying. But in the end, it does look very satisfying to have the footnotes with all the citations. Gotta say. Yeah. So that was my paper. It was also on butterflies as well. Very short section on butterflies. I clearly had a pig biased back in the day. And you know what? I still do. I love pigs. Let's do a quick read of this. Les papillons sont beaux. Les insectes volants avec des grandes ailes. So butterflies are beautiful. They are insects. They're flying insects with big wings. I don't know how big they are, but you know. Comme tous les insectes, ils ont 6 pattes articulées. They have 6 feet. Articulé, I guess just like curved. I don't know. 3 parts of the body. You got the antennas, eyes, exoskeleton. Oh, those are the 3 parts. They have 3 parts of the body. They also have antennas, eyes, and exoskeleton. And les 3 parties du corps, 3 parts of the body, are the head, thorax, and abdomen. Okay, this is probably plagiarized. Let's be honest here. This seems like Science 101. But yeah, there we go. My paper on pigs.